Hey everybody. Well, as you can see, we're going to have some fun today and do some good. I've had a lot of requests and just making sure my audio is recording. The microphone on that camera sucks. This microphone's much better. So, I had a lot of requests about how I'm using the clay to do molds and how I make my molds and how I make my parts. And I think there's a lot of confusion out there. People think that I take the clay and basically will take, let's say, the plug and make a mold and then lay something into the clay. The clay is only used as a dam. Okay, if I'm doing a larger part, I'll actually create the part completely. I'll cut it in half with my bandsaw, add about an eighth inch to each half, so because the bandsaw removes the thickness of the blade, and then I'll mount it on a board like this. And then I just grabbed the wrong one. Then what I do is I'll take my at least something around 5 ounce fiberglass, and first I'll put on my resin mixed in with a little bit of like micro balloons over here. Okay, and that will fill in any little bitty imperfections I've got in the mold. If you have just a piece of hair or a scratch in your mold, in your plug, it will show up in the mold. Your plug has to be painted. You can put your panel lines. It has to look exactly like the part you want to produce, because when you go to make that part, every imperfection will come out. It'll show, okay? So if you're going to make a part that has a constant line all the way around the perimeter for the mold, you're going to build a part. You can cut it in half. You can make two halves, or you could create a dam. And the way you can create a dam is if you actually kept the part as whole, cut out a piece of plywood exactly from your template, mount it to the part, put a little piece of clay or something for a gasket so the resin won't get through it. You can then build up one half of the mold, and you can't see this mold very well because I put styrofoam on it to make it secure. You can build up that one half of the mold, okay? Then what you're going to do is you're going to flip this over, if you got the whole piece here, not cut in half like I've done, and then you're going to pull the dam off and pull off the gasket and then build your other half. And then when you pop them apart, you would have I got things going everywhere, don't I? You would end up with your two halves, okay? So just to make this really clear, you've got to make sure that if you have a constant like perimeter line, you can either cut it in half or you can build a dam. You need something to create two halves of the mold. The reason I use clay is when you are working with propeller, it doesn't have a constant plane through it, okay? So you have to use the clay to build your dam so that the clay is going to match the exact leading and trailing edge, so this will pop out of a mold. If you have your mold come too far around it, you can never get this out of it. Okay, if you have it too far under it, when you build your other half, it will go around the edge and you won't be able to pull it out of the other half of the mold. So what I've learned, and also if you're making small parts, I have really fallen in love with using Bondo instead of doing resin. This takes a lot of time, this is a lot of money, and if you screw it up, which I've screwed up hundreds of molds. If you look at some of the complete disasters I've done here, they are complete train wrecks. So, but if you're going to make a simple part and you're only going to pull, let's say 30 or 40 or 50 pieces, Bondo works great. Okay, now, one of the most important things, remember, when you're going to pull a mold off your plug, is that you've got to use some kind of releasing agent, and I forgot my wax. So you have to wax this, Okay, there's plenty of parting waxes. You can go to Aircraft Spruce. You can go to any fiberglass supply company. There's Carnauba wax. I've actually used car wax, good car wax. Wax up put at least 4 coats of wax on it, and then use a good PVA. Now this company sucks because they're never on time. They don't tell you when it's shipping. So I marked out their name, so I'm not slandering them. So I just wrote Sucky Corp. Okay, but you need a good PVA. What the PVA is, you spray on a mist, a really thin mist. If you put it on thick, it will be just like when it rains on your car and you got your car waxed, you see those beads. That's not what you want in your mold. So you put on a mist, let it dry, put on another mist, 3 coats of mist, and you can barely just see little bitty dots. It looks almost like flat paint, and you're thinking, well, wait a minute, I need a glossy, I need it to come out glossy looking. The thing about it is that mist that you're putting on there, when you go to put on the thicker coats, it will smooth out and it'll look perfect. So you need to put down the wax. You've got to do the PVA. You've got to, without a doubt, take your time. And when you're laying on your layers of cloth, make sure you get something down in here around the edge because the cloth won't lay. Anytime you try to make cloth make a 90 degree, it's going to lift up and you're going to end up with bubbles. Okay, same thing when you build a propeller. Here are some of the pieces that I've cut out for my 6-blade prop that I've been building. And this just came out this morning. It needs to be sanded down, actually cut down on the, I go to my bandsaw and take off all these edges. Then I take 120 grit sandpaper and I groom the leading and trailing edges the way the propeller is supposed to be. And then I go to a 200, a 400, and a 600 grit. And when I'm done, and of course I forgot my other propeller. I thought I was all ready for this. But when you're done, and this was one of my test props, you end up with a really nice prop. Now one thing I want to show you on my very first prop, and I'm not sure how good it shows up there, but these are hollow props. Okay, they weigh virtually nothing compared to a solid prop. The first solid prop I ever made, this thing, unbelievable. I mean, this could be a projectile coming out of a 20 millimeter cannon. This is stupid heavy. I would never recommend building a solid propeller out of anything. These were the hollow ones I ended up with, and they're literally a quarter of the weight of that. And maybe one day I'll do a video a little bit more into this prop technology, but right now I'm just wanting to talk about molds. Another thing to think about molds, I was lazy. I wanted to get close on a spinner. So I decided to leave some grooves in it because I didn't think I had the skill just to make this perfect. All these little grooves showed up in my mold. Complete disaster. So what did I do? What I should have done in the first place. Take my time and spin a spinner like this. Now believe it or not, if you've got a lathe, do this in segments, get it really close. Take 60 grit sandpaper and some of that aluminum polish. And you can actually start polishing this down all the way to the point that you get to 400 grit sandpaper. And this ended up being my plug. And what I did with this was basically cut out a piece of plywood that was the dam. Okay, I built 4 little walls around it, poured in actually I brushed in the Bondo around the edge to make sure I had no air bubbles. So I put a really thin coat of Bondo on there and let it set up. Then I poured in Bondo, let it harden, broke off the dam walls, pulled the dam off this, and I ended up with this. Then I took and drilled 4 alignment holes. This was still in there. You never take this out, okay? You never take this out because you take it out, resin can get around it, okay? And right now it's not popping back in there because it's a really, really tight fit, and it should be. And I think I got some goop on this, and it's not fitting right now, but close enough. So then you build a dam around this, okay? And then you're going to pour in your other layers. And then once it's all cured, you pop it apart. Make sure you wax this. I forgot to tell you. Wax this 4 times. Mist it with Sucky Corp PVA. And then you can pop it out. And this came out flawless. Okay, this was one of my first ones that I pulled out of this. I will recommend one thing, and it's hard to make work right. Make sure that you have a groove in your mold that is going to line up with your back plate. The reason you want to do that, oh, I got my bolt in there. The reason you want to do that is if you go to try to turn this groove and you're out at all, the end of the spinner will wobble. Okay. So, also, everybody keeps asking me, how am I balancing these props? It's really simple. You're going to drill, because these are hollow. You're going to put it on your balance apparatus, whatever you use, and wherever it hangs, and normally it will hang like this. I don't know why I don't have one that's just heavy, but it'll hang like this. Well, that'll tell you that these two props are a little bit heavy. I drill little bitty holes here. I use a syringe and put in just a little bit of resin until it's perfectly balanced in this axis. Okay, once it's in like this, I then take it off and let it cure just in case it needs to drain into the tips. It may make it a little bit heavier, but it's not a big deal because, the farthest you go out, the more leverage you have. And, so I then will put, my primer on, get it completely balanced. And before I put my color on, I'll put it back on the balance apparatus and I'll put a little bit of primer on the back until it's perfectly balanced. Then I'll put on whatever color I want. Then I'll put it on the balance, and if I got to touch a little bit of paint on the back to get it balanced perfect. And then, like on this airplane, the C-130J, it actually has de-icing on the leading edge of the prop, which is chrome, some type of chrome in real life. It looks like chrome. I'm using some kind of a foil to make it look like that, or actually it's a foil tape. And once it's all done, then I put my clear coat on. Excuse me. So just keep in mind when you're building these molds, you're not using the clay ever as a mold. There's no point in it. You need to build a plug. So let's say I took a wood prop that I had machined into the shape I wanted. And what I mean is I took a prop and I cut it. I already bought the prop. I did not machine this prop, the airfoil or any of that stuff. So this would be what I'd want to pull my plug from. I would lay this in a table. Mount it down to something, usually like a little reservoir. I take the clay and I push it in around the entire perimeter so that I end up with exactly what one half of that mold's going to look like. And basically what you end up with, and let's see, what am I doing wrong here? Oh, wait a minute. These were the props that I had made that actually were counterclockwise and not clockwise. These original ones were pushers. So when you go to, there we go. So when you build your dam, when you're recording on TV like this, it sucks, especially when I don't have it completely ready. So basically, imagine this is all clay right now. Okay, I'm going to then build my mold on this half. Flip it over. I'm going to peel away all the clay and build my other half. Make sure you use wax. There's all kinds of mold release wax out there. I got it in my shop. I don't want to go get it, and I don't want to edit these. I hate when you see choppy editing. So for fillers, I use West System, the 404. This is for strength, not just as a filler. This is when you need strength in a mold or in a part. Strength. If you just need a filler that's not real strong, phenolic microballoons. This stuff I get from the East Coast, and I get these guys from AeroMarine. And also, they're really great. Shipping is a little expensive. Customer support's fantastic, so I don't mind paying a little bit extra shipping. But this AeroMarine's great. All my West System I get locally here from Marine Store in by Fishers, Indiana. The West System epoxy, I always use a 105. The nice thing about these pumps are you don't have to figure out your ratios when you're mixing epoxy. One pump of this, one pump of this, it's the right ratio. It's the greatest system in the world. I have a slow and I have a fast hardener. Honestly, the fast hardener, if I put a little bit of heat on it from my little space heater, I can have it basically usable within an hour. Okay, the slow is going to take 3 to 4 hours. If I'm doing a part that I really want to be strong, this is just my own personal feelings. I don't have a lot of testing on this, but the slow cure stuff tends to come out a lot stronger than the fast cure stuff. So if you got slow cure and you got a basement shop like I do, where it's about 68 at night, it'll take all night for that to cure 100%, or usually about 24 hours. And I would always recommend using the slow if you're laying up a wing or parts, because it gives you forever to work with it. It is a little bit stressful that it takes so long to cure, but you'll never have it starting to set up while you're working on it if you use a slow. The fast, if it's like a garage where you're in the 80-degree mark, you've probably got 30 to 45 minutes of working with that before it really starts to cure up on you. So I hope that I hope this helps a lot. I try to keep these videos as short. I'm not, I am ADHD, but I'm not this ADHD where I talk this fast. I'm just trying to get through the video. Um, Most important thing to remember, it's your support, it's your team, it's the knowledge base of people around you. Um, Ask questions, reach out to people, read things on the internet. If the person's a jerk to you, then don't use them for any help. I have found out that there's a lot of jerks in the world that when you ask them questions, they're like you're bothering them or you want something for free. You don't need those people in your life. There's plenty of us in this community. I also have a really interesting little video I'm going to put at the end of one of my next videos. I happened to find 3 years ago on the internet a place to get honeycomb, aero grade honeycomb. I thought I was going to the same place again about a month ago, and the guy called me up and said, "Hey, I'm getting ready to ship this, but I live less than a mile from you," which blew my mind. So here's a guy who works in the aviation world, had been at a place basically buying at an auction a whole bunch of avionics on pallets. On one of those pallets was some honeycomb. So he started selling it on the internet at like 1 square foot a piece. I mean, a square foot at a time. So he also flies RC airplanes, and that's the cool thing. When he saw my projects, he's like, "Hey, come over and tell me what you want. I'll figure it out." And I said, "Look, I don't ever take anything for free. I want to pay you something." So I went over to his garage. I probably have a lifetime supply of smaller pieces of honeycomb, and I'll show you a video I made on that in one of my next videos. But it's really cool the community of brainiacs we have in this industry. Um, I'm getting ready to do a whole new radio system on the C-130, and a guy named Dan has just been impeccable with supporting me. He works for Hobbyco. I'm also getting to do a video on my experience with Thunder Power batteries. I have 7-year packs. I've been flying in the MSL that's still charged to about 92%, which are about 350 cycles on them. And for a LiPo, that's insane. And I'm going to do a lot of videos this next 2 weeks because I have 2 weeks of vacation. Most of my clients are already taken off for the rest of the year. They're definitely off in between Christmas and New Year's. So instead of me sitting on my butt trying to figure out what to do, I decided to take 2 weeks of vacation. So I'm hopefully this video will answer everything about doing molds. I have a video coming up on the actual design and every step it took to make the 6-blade carbon fiber props. I also have a video, like I said, on the Thunder Power. And then I have a lot of people reaching out to me that know in my past I had done a lot with new product development and prototyping. And they want me to put together the smart way to build products, because everybody in the world thinks they've got the greatest invention, but there's about 50 steps that it takes for you to take that invention and to make any money. And to be honest, if I had that really good invention, I would have a factory with 25 people building me the coolest RC planes, and my team would be overpaid, overcompensated, have 100% of their insurance covered, and we would make aviation great again. Model aviation. So, hey, thanks everybody for following my videos. I know I don't have this massive 10,000 views and all that. I don't care. But the 300 to 400 of you that follow me are the smartest, greatest people I've ever dealt with, and I really appreciate all the emails. One last thing. I don't have time to like every one of your comments on Facebook. Okay? I try to get into Facebook, but I've got a real life with my family, which I love very much. I've got a really cool job that I'm really helping develop some really cool things with, and not product. Okay, I don't work anything in aviation for products, so don't anybody get exciting that something's coming out with new product in aviation. My work has nothing to do with aviation, and um, I'm trying to answer all the emails, which I always do, but I'm getting an awful lot of people that, say, hey, great job, stuff like that. I always try to like that to show that I'm actually reading it. But understand, I'm looking at everything. I just don't have the time sometimes to spend 2 hours at night looking at everything on Facebook. Okay. So, hope you come back and watch my future videos. And I appreciate you very much for all your support and all the cool comments. And everybody have a great day. And keep in mind, don't ever give up. If I would have given up with some of these disasters I did, I wouldn't be doing these cool things. I wouldn't be learning so much. So don't ever give up, ever. Okay? Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great day. Okay, I lied. I went to my shop and came back. This is the mold release I use. It's the greatest stuff in the world. This wax absolutely goes on. You let it dry, you buff it completely off, put 4 coats of this on, and you will never have a problem. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.